Server restart in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Server Restart In. It's a World of Warcraft podcast with 3 opinionated players who like to sit down and talk about shit about the game. My name's Jim, joined with... I always fucked it up. I'm joined by Kristen. And Brian.
Hi.
And the expansion is finally dropped, so I'm pretty sure everybody's going to know what we're going to talk about this week, and it's going to be Shadowlands.
Wait, what? We're not talking about BFA?
Yeah, BFA's done and dead and buried, unless you're still getting shreds of insanity for some reason, like some people are. But just a fair warning, there will probably be spoilers in our conversation, so if you don't want to be spoiled on certain things, just don't take a risk and listen to this later. So I wrote some stuff down that we can probably go over.
You're an overachiever.
Yes. Well, just trying to put a little bit of structure into an otherwise free-form podcast. Got to rein you guys in. You guys are just nuts. So, yeah, it was a worldwide launch. Launched, technically it was the 24th, but that's GMT or something like that. So for us here in the Midwest, it was...
Monday at 5
p.m. And some of us logged in and just sat around in Orgrimmar for a while, and then it happened. And then everybody was converged on the start, and it seemed pretty seamless. There was a lot of people, a lot of visual lag and all that kind of stuff, which is to be expected when there's that many people there. But, you know, the Mograine, you talk to Mograine, he opens up his death gate, and you went and started, and immediately you're instanced. You go into Icecrown, and there's some people going from Icecrown, Acaris into Icecrown, but then you were instant, because I only saw...
I didn't see more than 5 people, I don't think.
When you're doing the helm.
Oh, I only saw you.
Yeah, so it was immediately instanced, so which is good. So I would say from an issue of a launch, it was pretty smooth, right? I don't know if you had any issues, Brian, on your end.
No, jump right in.
There were some issues where people tried to come in after it started, where their game files were incompatible, and like they had to jump through some hoops, like uninstall, repair the game files, that kind of thing. Some people got in. Some servers were just hammered, like
Area 52.
Area 52.
Area 52.
Yeah, like apparently that server has just been slammed, and even up as far as a couple days ago, we're still having several hours wait time to get in.
So, piggybacking on that, I didn't realize that it was also some streamers who had their communities go there as well, and that's why it was so packed. Like, I knew that one of our friends went over there because there was a big Mythic Plus community, and he was going to do some Mythic raiding over there, but also, I don't know who the streamer was because I didn't care that much, but I had read about it that people were saying that some streamers had their entire communities like go over there. So this poor server that hasn't in the past been at full capacity was now slammed.
Yeah,
which
and it's
sucks.
ridiculous. It does suck. It sucks for the normal people on there, but I mean, you would think that it would be able to handle it. I mean, I guess that's what the whole logging queue is for. I don't know if it was if their main issue was just logging queues.
Well, one of the people in our guild was saying that WoW was trying to force voice or something like that, and that was the problem with the...
Oh, not being able to disable the in-game voice client?
I think, and that was the problem. I don't know how.
I mean, I haven't seen anything on that. I don't know if that's a thing. But I don't understand why that would necessarily cause login issues. I thought he was talking about something that was happening today with certain issues, but
I don't know.
Is that an otherwise popular server?
Area 52?
It was not.
It was not. I think they probably went there because it was a lower one, and so they all like moved over there, and yeah, it was
like
normal.
high-end Mythic Plus communities and all that kind of stuff, and then other people. I don't know. I don't know why people make decisions like that, especially with a lot of cross-platform, or I'm sorry, cross-server.
Well, the problem is Mythic.
Mythic rating, sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, Mythic Plus doesn't really matter because you can just have a community and just pull from anybody and any server with that. But the Mythic rating is the big thing. I think that they should. I guess the problem would come in with the world first. I think once the world first race is done or whatever, instead of having like 100 guilds have to kill it on each side to enable cross-realm Mythic rating, they should just let people do it. You know what I mean? That just seems silly to me. I don't know.
But yeah, so relatively smooth as far as launches are concerned, especially with it being a live launch and simultaneous launch. I don't know what other communities were like in the EU or the Oceanic. I don't know if there were really any issues with that. But that being said, I don't think that there was really any crowding issues as well. Because normally when you start stuff, before they worked on all their sharding, you would just have hundreds of people trying to do the same thing, kill the same stuff and all that. And I think that they did a really good job of minimizing that, because when we were into the opening introductory quest line where you go to the Maw and go through that part of it and get the kind of basic introduction of kind of what's going on, there were people, but it was never more than like 5 to 10 people in one area. And it just felt that it wasn't packed full of players, and it almost did make you feel like you were the important one again, right? Because that's kind of something where it loses when you have all the champions or whatever in one area doing the quest. Is it doesn't feel particular to your character. But I don't know. What did you guys think about the introductory Maw quests as far as just content and just the way it just felt?
I think it was fine. I mean, nothing really like bothered me. Usually, like something sticks out and pisses me off quite a bit. I didn't really feel anything like that. It did feel like the intro was taking forever once you got to Oribos and did all the walking around and then started to Bastion. But then I realized that this is a ginormous linear introduction, is 50 to 60 for Shadowlands. So I kind of backed off of that.
Yeah.
So otherwise, like I actually thought it was decent. So nothing crazy.
I didn't mind it. Like the leveling was, I thought it was good.
Well, I mean, in particular about just like the starting of the Maw, where you go in and it kind of introduces.
I wish we would have figured out the riding of the mounts.
Yes, if you don't,
I still do it every single time. I'll try to click my mount every time I'm done fighting something.
Well, it's funny because Blizzard changed Druid mounts, right? So now when I just hit my regular dual mount button, the button that does when you're in an area where you can only use ground mounts, it'll do the ground mount, but when in an area when you can do the flying mount, it'll do the flying mount. And Jim goes to mount me, he can't, right? You have to have the book for the stag form and use that one in order to get a rideable mount. Which is, I think is ridiculous. I don't know why they changed it.
Well, the thing is,
I don't know why, but
druids are the only ones that can, I guess, get a regular mount in there. I would guess shamans can get Ghost Wolf.
Yeah, they have Ghost Wolf, yeah.
But that's still not full mount speed. But druids are still able to. And I guess it makes sense because the whole concept is it tells you that you can't reach your mount from the Maw, like you're cut off from it.
Right.
But druids themselves.
So you have a mount in the maw.
If we're down there together,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I
What?
mean, anybody that I'm down there with has a mount in the maw. I mean, whatever.
Anybody
I mean, usually I'm going to be down there with you.
as a joke.
I know.
But yeah, so I guess then let's just kind of move on into the questing thing, the whole storyline, where you go into Oribos and you find out what happened to the Arbiter, and then you start in Bastion, and that starts your journey where you go through all the different Covenant zones. Is it Bastion, then Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and Revendreth, and then you get to pick eventually shortly thereafter. What were your guys' favorite like zone or like quest line? Well, okay, I already know what hers is.
Ardenweald! Night Bay.
Do you care to expound upon that?
I mean, it's pretty. It's blue. You get to be a fairy and fart fairy dust on people. So, there's that.
Their ability is awesome.
Yeah.
I like that ability quite
Convoke-
a bit. The visual of it.
Convoke is the most fun button to press. It really is. It's a lot of fun. And
You're
Soul Shape is
talking-
awesome.
I think he's talking.
Oh, are you
Soul
talking
Shape
Soul Shape?
because Convoke is a druid.
I'm not sure. It's the blue stuff that smacks on the ground in random patterns or whatever.
Oh no, that's got to be your class ability for warriors.
Yeah.
Because so the Soul Shape one where you turn into the fox, that's the Covenant ability.
Mm-hmm.
Every class has access to it. When I went through there, the ability they gave me was like a change to Death and Decay and made it kind of like blue and sparkly.
Yeah, it looks cool.
But you probably have a different one. It probably either changed an existing skill or gave you a new skill. Like druids get Convoke the Spirits.
Oh,
which,
it's so much fun.
how long?
I don't even remember now. I just know that it might have been War Stomp or whatever it is.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
No,
I don't know.
that's
It was
fine.
cool.
Yeah.
The visual was cool. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah, I love Convoke. That is the most fun. Like, you press the button, and it's a channel thing, which kind of sucks. That's going to take some getting used to. Like, when you're doing mechanics and stuff, you got to make sure that you don't move during it or you've wasted a 2-minute cooldown. But you press it, and then you're firing all these druid spells and blah, 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 and it's just awesome. It's so much fun. It's a fun that was the only reason. Like, I know from a min-max perspective, I think Revendreth was the better one, but I know that I would have died because using that ability comes at a cost. If you press it and then you're not doing anything, if you're in that, like, if there's even one global that you're not doing anything, there's not pushback, but like blowback from the ability. And so it like stuns you for an amount of time, and then you take however much damage you've like built up or something. Like, it's, yeah. Like, what?
That's a shit ability.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be the best one, but frick, I know I'd kill myself all the time on it. Yeah. So, and Night Fae, really, it works.
Well, you
for
like
me.
druids too, so, and that's very druid centric. What about you, Brian? What was your favorite zone to go through the beginning quest? Not necessarily like what covenant you picked, but just as far as like the overall story, atmosphere, that kind of thing.
I like Bastion. I don't know. I didn't think I was going to, but at the start of it, it was kind of corny. Blue kids training to do something.
Wow,
And then
a new Smurf.
owl things running around. It was kind of goofy, but the I don't know, the mech stuff they got going on, and then the light side, dark side shit going on, and then Uther out of nowhere. I don't know. It was enough to. The storyline, I think, was really good, and the aesthetic to the area I enjoyed. I could, as a warrior, I could heroic leap to every single cliff there. So if there was a mine above me, I'd find a good spot when I could trigger it, and boom, I could jump right up to it and get it. so I can navigate that whole zone without any issues.
That's nice.
And it felt very open world, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I got to like Maldraxxus,
Ugh.
and I was just getting hit by random. You run into the level 60 zone area of the zone, and then you get fucking attacked by 60 elites, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm going. Why is this happening? And then Ardenweald was just, I don't know. From the leveling experience, it just felt like it was a zigzag slide going down a mountain, and it was everything I hated about WoW in one place. So I just like, I can't do this. I'm just gonna autopilot and go straight through it.
That's kind of the maw for me. Everything I hate about WoW in one place. Like,
well, I have to say, like Revendreth, I thought I would like more, and I liked the story. I thought the story was kind of cool, but then I don't know if maybe I had just burnt myself out leveling that I didn't enjoy it as much. I'm hoping that the Threads of Fate thing will kind of change that, but because I like the dark, backstabby story, but I don't know, it was kind of meh for me. But again, like at that point, I think I was just ready to be done at 60, and so I got to 60 before the campaign was done, and I thought for sure that I would, hit 60 and go pick Covenant and stuff, but I had to finish.
Yeah.
I was kind of pissed about that.
That was what we did too, because we started in Bastion and we were doing every single quest in Bastion.
We did everything but the dungeon quest before we went on to Maldraxxus.
Same. Yep.
So
I was going around to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I was too, because I just remembered in the beta that they had, and I hadn't done any leveling prior to make sure that we were gonna, have enough experience to hit. But then one of the people in the guild was saying, "Oh yeah, you should just be able to do the story and hit." And I was like,
as soon as I saw that, I remember somebody saying that. As soon as somebody said it, I went and got autopilot and turned it on.
When we got to the end of Bastion, we were 55 already.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I think
And
I was close. I wasn't, I was close to 55. I remember
that was no rusted XP.
Yeah.
Because there was no way to get it.
Yeah.
No, I will say the only thing that really kind of irks me is that, one, spoiler wise, I guess, if someone hasn't played through it yet, I guess it's the story so far seems to be cut and dry. There's no hidden agenda bullshit. It's just this dude's evil, and he's kind of like Sargeras did by infiltrating certain figures, whatever, lives, minds, and taking over and leveraging those from different perspectives in the universe. Same thing's kind of happening here, and it's kind of, I hope something really blows up, because it kind of threw a meh taste in my mouth story wise. So
everything we get, all the information we get, is that he's the banished one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have no reason why he was banished. What if it was unfair? It's
really interesting, because I'm getting Deathwing vibes from, so how like they all the Paragon people, the world leaders, the Shadowlands zone leaders, eternal ones, okay, all banded together to banish him, and then like they had all the dragon aspects had all banded together to defeat Deathwing, and so I'm kind of like, when they were doing that and they were all meeting together and they're like, we all banded together to banish him, blah blah blah, and now we don't have the Primus, and how are we going to do this? And
there's really only 2 of them left that are still on the same page as far as the banishment of the Eternal One. Obviously, Sargeras is definitely working with them, and the Primus is dead. So
Ardenweald Bastion.
Yeah, at least it doesn't mean that there's not factions within the other areas that are supporting the way things were.
It all comes down to the color blue. The blue carrions and the super blue area of Ardenweald.
Yeah, I agree. Well, as far as the favorite, like, story part of the quest, Bastion was okay. I mean, it did, introduce everything. The Maldraxxus story, the initial story was okay. You got a lot of backstabbing, I guess, between the houses and stuff like that, working with, everybody that's working in the shadows to, like, overthrow stuff.
I just remembered something. You were getting to Ardenweald, right?
Ardenweald, yep.
Baby Sarah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Ardenweald, whatever. But story wise, I don't know. I don't know which one.
That was my what I was gonna say, and I was telling Jim this when we were playing, and we were going through Ardenweald, and the cutscene came up of that we had seen, we had already seen, and when they're talking about the wild hunt and the groves being.
Oh, the Shadowland one.
Yeah. And I'm legitimately sitting there crying. And I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have seen this before because it feels so much more impactful now that I'm actually in the zone. And like, I didn't cry when we watched it before. I was like, oh, that one was okay, but I like the Bastion one better, blah, blah, blah. But then we got into the zone and we're doing the stuff and it was like, and then you meet the dude and it's like, oh man, it felt more impactful. Definitely.
So two things. One, Ardenweald was so impactful to me that Azerite autopilot skipped the cutscene for me.
Which one? The Afterlives one or the later ones?
All of them. I didn't watch
all of them. Just
the Ardenweald ones. I did turn it off at a certain point, but I don't remember. I watched, I think, the Ysera.
Yeah, I didn't. I could not rewatch those. I was like, escape.
That was, I would say that maybe one of my favorite things to do in there was to sit there as Ysera and kill everybody and then watch myself walk up.
She was like, I
didn't
myself.
realize that. I didn't realize that.
When you're doing that, you're sitting there, and if you watch the area that looks kind of out and up the hill from where you initially go to get the Tears of Elune, but they're not there because Xavius has them.
Yeah.
You see Tirana come in, and then you see yourself walk on. I'm like, hey, that's me. And it looks it looks like you. But I don't understand how a Zandalari troll would be that. You know what I mean? Because they weren't there. You know what I mean? So that's, I mean, sure, they're inserting it in, blah, blah, but whatever.
That's okay.
If they would have caught that would have been really cool.
It's okay. I didn't see myself anyway, so.
Even though it's the same character, you were there.
I was there as a Tauren,
I was sitting there smashing the button like, is this working? Am I going to lose? What's going on?
I was concentrating on trying to beat Ysera and trying to beat everybody, and I was
but it took forever though. That's what it just took forever, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? Even though I knew that I was destined to
quest
lose.
Wise, I'm like, I just want to get out of this thing.
I could have just sat there and made it go faster, I guess.
Yeah.
But so that was pretty cool. And then at the end, when you bring Ysera's egg and she hatches and all that stuff, I mean, that was kind of, very, I think that carried a lot of weight too, because you get to see, that kind of stuff. Now, it probably would have been better if it was Ursoc, but, it was, and she had such a short, stubby neck.
She's a baby.
She's a damn big baby. She looks about as big as she did.
She's baby Ysera.
I don't think she's that babyish.
I will say, so you know how you all have that, every zone has their thing that they can do to get renown. Whatever, you do it once a week. It's like, I think Venthyr have a party that you go to.
Yes, but you can't unlock it yet because I don't think you can do it yet.
Well, I'm pretty sure I did mine in my campaign thing. Mine wasn't a party. Mine's unless you did it as well, but I don't think so. It's part of the campaign thing. You get to act out all the different fights that you've been a part of. In this is so much fun. So you're basically putting on a play for the queen, right? And you get to be in costume, and some of the costumes are hilarious. And then some of the and they have illusions, so you can kind of see the fae underneath them, and then they're like the illusions of
kind of like in Suramar City. When you're going to the costume gala and everybody's got the ghostly costume over them, but you're in the center of it.
Yes. Yeah. And you get to relive fights like the Jaina fight. And for the Jaina one, it's like the NPC who's doing it, she's like this little fairy, and she comes in and she like ice blocks you, and like you can't get out of it, and you can't, and the person who's doing the narrating, she's like I think her name was Glitter Dust. Jaina doesn't win that one. And she's like, what? Oh man. And then she has to un-ice block you. It's just very funny. And it was hilarious. So it was, if you get the opportunity to do the Arden Weald, I mean, I'm sure we're all going to do that. But it was very funny and it was enjoyable. Like I had a good time, and I was laughing hysterically through it. I was like, "Oh man, are you looking to see what the?"
I'm trying to see what the Necrolords wants. It's the Abomination Factory, but I can't even unlock the first thing because it requires X amount of renowned souls or whatever.
Well, you do the quest to start it, but then it says the next part of the quest is to unlock level 1.
Are you
yeah, and then I can't unlock level 1 because
same here. That's what I'm on.
Yeah, you don't have enough of the souls, and you can only get 5 souls a week.
Was that did you look? Was that what mine was? Like I
didn't look up.
Oh, okay.
No.
I mean, maybe that's just part of the campaign quest.
We shouldn't look stuff up. We should just guess and just make wrong conjectures like we do every week.
That's right. It was a lot of fun though, and like I did the Threads of Fate thing for my rogue because I wanted to start making the inscription books. So I just like pushed her through and got her to Oribos. And I made her Night Bay because I think Night Bay is best for rogues, and I need every advantage I can get on my rogue because I'm terrible at it. But I'm going to go through and get my other ones. Like my Shadow Priest is probably going to be a Venthyr. And my Death Knight will probably be Maldraxxus. And I guess my Paladin will have to be Bastion.
It doesn't have to be.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I want to go through the story on all of them.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like,
Well, which, as far as the zones are concerned, and this is, again, just in the context of the initial story through all 4, which ones were your least, or which one was your least favorite? Which one were you just like, oh, I can't wait to be done with this and move on so I can just get to the end?
Bastion was that for me. Only because
Is it because it took so long?
It did take so long, but I look at it and it reminds me of Dr. Seuss. Like it looks like a Dr. Seuss book.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I see the Lorax every time I go through there. Like the way the trees are and the. Yeah. Do you see that? Really? Am I the only one who sees?
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think Bastion definitely carries a lot of gladiator feel to it, right? Like especially when he's walking through the fields of wheat, like the open grasslands kind of have.
I didn't see
that kind of like tall grass, open field thing. It's very Grecian, very ancient Grecian as far as
I get that
as far as the structure and the constructs and the naming conventions and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you definitely get that like ancient Greco style, which is cool. It's as far as though like the least favorite one story wise, I don't know. I don't know if there was one that I didn't really like. I mean, obviously Revendreth was at the very end, and when we hit 60 it was late at night and it had been a long day, So it was just kind of like,
like 1:00 in the morning, and we hit 60, and I was like, "Let's
bedtime.
go to bed." And Jim was like, "Okay,"
it's like,
we
I'm already-
logged off.
She
We're
looks
"We're
over.
done."
I'm already in bed.
I'm like, I am so tired. I didn't know if you were gonna make it because you were so tired.
It got to the point where you're just
Yeah.
like kind of sitting back and like autopilot, like
Yeah.
trying to fight. You're nodding off and,
and
stuff like that.
we were like 59, and I was like, God, we gotta get 60. We gotta get 60. We gotta just get it done and
Yeah.
get it. And I thought you were gonna, for sure, I thought you were gonna be like, let's just get it tomorrow. And I was like, no, I don't have time. I have clinic tomorrow. Blah 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 blah. So it was kind of.
It was fine.
It was.
I don't know. What about you guys, Brian? Did you have one that you didn't care for? As far as like,
well, like all joking aside, I really didn't like Ardenweald.
yeah, you mentioned that.
I actually liked the leveling areas. I immediately hated the first NPC that you run into.
It's that fairy,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
the prankster.
Moonbeam,
whatever.
I
Lady
hated
Moonbeam
it
or
so.
whatever her
I also
name is.
hated it
Solar
because
Moon
I
Fry.
kept twice. It said, okay, we're going here, but we're walking together. But on the mini map, it shows where you have to go. So I'm like, okay, boom. I
But she
jump
just
or
keeps
mount
walking.
or whatever I did, and then it disappears. And then I have to go all the way back up to the top where it started, and it spawns again and says the same dialogue. I don't have to restart the quest. It just spawns again. I got to walk with it.
Yeah,
And it's doing all this stupid shit. And I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't have that problem because I was just like, no, you can't go anywhere. I have to listen to the RP talk because I want to hear this. I read everything. I listened to every conversation.
Yes, he did.
And I'm like, don't go anywhere. Don't start killing things yet because I haven't even accepted the quest yet.
I don't know what
Yeah.
it I think it was another thing. Like, every zone has its own struggle that you gotta resolve in order to gain approval or whatever. It's the same story every time you go to a new zone, and wow, there's a struggle here, you gotta solve the problem, blah blah blah. And by that time, that was the third zone, and I was already like, oh, here we go again. Like, I don't really care that you're split between these two, and then like the bad side's going to create the dungeon in this zone. Like, I get the recipe here. I don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
Let me
You're
get to
like-
the end. There's a bigger problem going on, and I think that's like that's
Yeah.
a part of the story that kind of pisses me off. Is like,
Yeah.
But
there's a big issue going on. It's a big problem.
Yep.
But you got to earn the approval of.
Well,
At that point-
you know it's a big problem, but you haven't been able. So, like, when you get to Ardenweald, you never get a chance to tell her that, hey, this is going on, and it's
No, that was the one that was like, well, we could, but that she won't trust you, or they won't. You won't be able to talk to her, or something. It was something like that. And it was just like,
I mean, but that does.
I doubt she doesn't know this already herself.
But that does make sense, though, because, I mean, think about it. If you have some information, right? And think about it in, like, here, in the context of here. You have some information and you go to, the president and you're like, hey, I have this information. This is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at you and he's like, who are you? Or,
You get
you know.
tagged.
Yeah. But if you were an alien, it'd be totally different.
Well,
Well, yeah.
You're literally like a mortal in this world, and you're the only one in this context.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh my God, we've heard about you, but you got to earn it."
yeah,
I know
gotta
the whole
earn
world,
it.
this whole realm is ending.
Right. We know you're the
Right, I
mall
get
walker.
that part.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to solve some problems for us.
Right.
Our cousins are
Gotcha.
fighting our other cousins, and they're pissed off.
what
and
was cool
there's
about
some weird shit
Ardenweald,
going
though,
on.
what was cool was the presence of the Drust.
Yeah, that was cool.
Look,
Yeah.
the whole time we're running around, I'm like, man, this
Yeah.
it's got such a Drustvar feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there were some stuff that were Wicker-esque,
Yeah.
that weren't necessarily part of like the Drust invasion force kind of thing, but they were still there. And I'm like, man, this is very that. And then they showed up, and I was like, okay, which makes sense because like the Drust and all that stuff it's a death cult anyway. So, that's so if
Did they actually talk about what their, like, how they were communing with? Because like Wamsamdi would be a connection between the two worlds.
well, they were druid. So like the only thing I remember is the stuff from BFA, right? Reading up on it, like that I don't know if we talked about it, but
We did a little bit because I think we were kind of contending on whether or not they actually had some pull to directly to Shadowlands.
which I think in this might get changed because of Shadowlands, but initially the zone for the Drust was like a pocket dimension almost. And is it Golrak or whatever the guy you kill at the end of Waycrest Manor? They were druids who changed to death magic basically and became necro druids. And so that was like their connection with the death magic kind of stuff. And,
So they were really the only ones wielding death magic on Azeroth?
until Exile's Reach, because that's the dragon you fight at the end of the dungeon in Exile's Reach. That's all death magic and that the ogres were fucking with. But it is so the Drust had death magic. Obviously, Bon Samdi was the Death Loa. I don't know if anybody over there actually wielded death magic, but yeah, death magic hasn't. And I mean, I guess maybe the Lich King in some aspect, but not necessarily like the pure death magic, especially not the stuff that, well, because I guess Sylvanas is Maw magic, which might not be, oh, she's Maw magic.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't think about it that way.
Because hers
Maybe
is black and
maybe there's
smoky.
a difference.
As opposed to like the green stuff. So I don't know.
I really feel like they missed an opportunity to give us a new class and bring necromancers in, because with death magic they could have done stuff. I don't know. It would have been neat.
Yeah,
It would have been
I
neat.
think so.
It would have been a neat little tie-in, and
It could be something that comes out of this though.
Yeah,
Because before, ties to the realm of death and all that stuff were very, very, very tenuous and
Right.
very, very, very sparse. But now that the veil's been torn asunder, if it's not repaired, perhaps, there will be that bleed over. And one of the things too that struck me is in the, when you read about the Shadowlands and all that kind of stuff, the vague description, there's countless realms, right? And the ones we're dealing with are the four main ones. And when you watch the cinematic about the Arbiter before she was zapped by the red zap, which is strikingly similar to stuff from Revendreth. So I don't know if they sent something out to then come back in as a soul. And,
The color?
yeah. I mean, that's the only connection. I was listening for sounds or anything, something that would have broke the Arbiter, and like nothing in that really seemed to indicate where that red bolt came from. But the only thing that I've seen that's had that kind of magic is Revendreth, right?
Well, let me ask you this, because I was kind of like let down when I ran the other side.
We have not.
we have not done that yet. Yeah.
Oh,
So don't you
man.
damn spoil us.
Well, it's not like it does tell. It tells you some things that people had questions about. But he blurts it out all at the very end.
We need
And I'm
to
like,
go
oh,
and
well,
do
that was all right. All right. I mean, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
we're good there, I guess. That seals up a bunch of loose ends. But
okay.
he's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, that was me. Blah blah blah.
We should
And
go
then
do
you
all the
you should run it.
dungeons.
You should run it. Run
Yeah.
it as soon as possible.
We need to
Let's
just
go run it after this.
Sure, we
Okay.
can just do all the dungeons.
But what I was getting at too is that when you see the Arbiter playing Sorting Hat, there's all those gates floating around, right? So there is the potential for there to be all kinds of other zones to go to, right?
Yeah, not to mention that the Ring of Transference has a bunch of different spots available for connections, like they do.
Right, because there's the four main ones, but there's like the in between ones. So there's at least four other ones, if there's not more.
And I don't even think they're not all equally dispersed. There should be four available, and then there's a flight point on the north side. but I think 2 were side by side, and maybe the other 2 were side by side on the other side.
Mm.
It's not like there's one on top, bottom, left, right type of thing.
I will say it's very fun to jump into the maw.
It is. That's cool. That's like one of the best features.
I do wish
enjoy that.
I do wish though that the animation wasn't you just like going like oh with your arms
Yeah.
up and your feet kicking. I wish it was more
well,
like the initial
did you guys
one.
do the Warrior Legion stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
Class all? Like
Yeah.
that right there. Like whenever
Yeah.
Yeah.
you actually have to talk to somebody, you
Yes.
don't actually jump in yourself, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
No,
should have
yeah.
been something like that.
Yeah. So overall, throughout the entire quest to get to 60 and pick your covenant, from entering the maw to picking your covenant, favorite overall moment or whatever moment that just sticks in your mind that the most, that was just like most impactful, most memorable, just any of it.
I mean, Ysera, baby Ysera. Like, I mean, that's going to be, Arden Wield is just it for me, as far as.
I think seeing Bluther for the first time, like on that quest when he comes out of nowhere,
Which time? The time where he is talking to the Kyrian that you have to go bring back?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
see him there? Yeah. I mean, I kind of expected that, only because we've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I didn't fully understand that there was like this light side, dark side thing to
Yeah.
Bastion. So,
A lot of it, too, has come about because of the drought, right?
Yeah.
Because it has caused, I guess, people to not be able to ascend anymore and all that stuff. And that's where the seeds of doubt at least gained some food for thought, so to speak, and were able to grow into that malcontent and all that stuff and create those type of that thing. Plus, all the prodding from the Maw stuff, and it's just like knowing what we know and who helped Uther ascend and all that stuff. Devos is going to end up being not a good guy, and she's one of the paragons of one of the. Were they temples or were they houses? They were houses.
They are temples more so.
Right. I they had a name.
I don't know. I think they're called temples, maybe. Yeah, because there's like one of purity and one of something and one
Yeah.
of something.
So she's one of the paragons of one of them, and I think that that's gonna be a thing. But I don't know. As far as
I don't think she was.
no,
Because
no.
there are.
When you go first talk to the Arbiter in the storyline, there's the 4 paragons right there, and she's one of them.
No.
Devos?
No, she's not one of the. She's not one of the 4. Like, there's Archon. The Archon is the Bastion.
No. Inside of Bastion, you have the Archon at the head, and
Yeah.
then you have the next level down, which is the paragons.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
pre-
think she was that high
I
up
thought-
either.
I thought she was.
There was a person that started with a V, I think, or something like that you talked to quite a bit. Or you have to get to the point where you actually, because they're like they don't care at first, and then you build up to it, and then they're eventually like, holy shit, this is a problem,
Mm.
and then we have to get contact the Archon or whatever it is.
Persephone or something like
There
that.
was like
Was it
you
the
could tell there was
Palomar?
like 3 different levels of
Yeah.
the chain of command there.
Yeah.
So I think she was one of the lower levels. She was above like an ascended, but
No,
think she was
I
that
thought
high.
it was Devos, and I thought all the shadowy memories that you were looking at for that one that you were doing, I thought that she was the one that was behind the scenes. But
Now, yeah. So when they switched, so when they were becoming, what are they called? What are the dark ones called?
Forsworn,
Yes. So I think she is the head of them now, but originally, I don't think she was that high up.
okay. Well,
I could be wrong. That's just what I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I made note of it, but I don't know.
Have you guys played Spires of Ascension?
We've
No.
done one dungeon.
We did the first dungeon,
Yep.
the something wake.
Plaguefall?
Plaguefall.
No,
Hmm.
the Necro Wake.
Oh yeah.
Necrowake, yeah.
Necrotic Wake.
Necrotic Wake.
Yeah, whatever that
That's
was.
actually good. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that
that's
dungeon.
pretty good.
I actually like
We did it before we were 60,
Oh my
and
goodness.
it was stupid easy.
Stupid easy.
And then we went in after 60 and did it again,
It was
and it
much
just
harder.
completely changed.
Dude, the level 57 was the peak.
Mm.
I swear to God, your stats are great up until like 57. After 57, they just drop down exponentially.
Yeah.
I
Well,
swear my haste and crit dropped
ugh.
like by 5%
Yeah.
each level I went up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta be shitting me.
And when we did that one, we hadn't finished doing the storylines, so I hadn't gotten all of my, like, I hadn't gotten Convoke yet. So I didn't have all of my powers yet. So I was basically just kind of going with.
Oh yeah, well when you went in that dungeon before you finish, you only have your bastion ones,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why I made the comment about Azurite gear not being 1-for-1 for head, shoulders, and body pieces.
Oh, because it had all the stats.
Because the stat weights are so fucking low. The stat weights are normalized. Now they're not low, they're normalized. The stat distributions on the item levels up until hell, even like it's probably going to be Mythic 0 that you switch it out for heroic level BFA, which was 120, because the primary stats are significantly higher, even like 20 points higher. Like nobody should be taking 30 crit, 30 haste, unless this is absolutely blowing out of the water right now.
Well, I did a little bit of simming. I've replaced I think most of my gear already.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't. I replaced one because it was about, I think I had 15 strength when I lost it. But you're talking about, I think I had a crit piece and some haste. So mine goes strength, haste, crit, and the haste difference was 1%. You know what I mean? And I'm losing 15. It was somewhere around 15 or 20 strength. Like that just doesn't make sense. Strength is for me is in any primary stat is going to come out to real damage. It's not going to be the additional chance for a crit. It's not going to be the additional chance for haste that eventually turns into damage, right? It is straight up damage. It's straight up output. So I could see there being some points maybe within reason, but for the most part, like I don't think I would trade a primary stat loss of 20 to take like haste for me is a big deal. Like right now I feel like I'm slugging just because I'm waiting for rage to build up a lot. It's not as bad as it was last expansion, but I can definitely tell that there's a huge lack of haste, and fortunately I could do some work there and improve that. But at the same time, like I'm still out DPSing everybody in dungeons that I go into. I haven't gone into heroics yet because I'm like 2 points off, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
All the 60s that I'm running with right now, like I'm out DPSing them still. So I'm just gonna sit and wait until I get good gear from hopefully heroics or mythic.
Yeah, no. I mean that makes sense, and that kind of brings us, because now we're talking end game stuff, right? So let's go ahead and shift gears and talk about our end game experience so far. Since I guess not end game, but max level, because obviously we're not even close to end game stuff. But what covenant did you pick? I mean, obviously we know what Kristen picked because she hasn't done anything about her. Yeah,
I haven't shut up about it.
Yeah, that's yes. Yes. So obviously she picked the Night Fae. Brian, which one did you go with?
Necrolords.
Yeah, I went Necrolords as well. What was your driving factor? Obviously Druin or
Convoke.
Yeah, Kristen picked
and
it.
And fun and
yeah. Because the aesthetic, and that's the same reason I picked it. It's like Necrolords, very heavy metal, very like 80s heavy metal shit. Plus, I feel like it's very Death Knight-ish. And I have enjoyed the hell out of it. Why did you pick Necrolord?
Well, I went through and looked at all of the Covenant abilities at the little square area when you were choosing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and forth between. I wasn't going to pick the Ardenweald one for anything. The Bastion one, I think, is technically probably better for me, but I didn't want that one either. I was going to probably save that for my Paladin just for the, lore sake of it. Something like that. The Venthyr, I'm not really sure why I didn't pick that one. It's not really that, like, I was like, ooh, this is awesome. or aesthetically pleasing, or I don't know. I was just literally like, okay, well, I don't really want any of those, so I'll do this one.
Yeah.
I like their gear set. Their gear set is pretty
Which one? The
pretty
Revendreth?
cool.
The Venthyr?
No.
Oh,
the
Necrolords?
Necrolords.
Yeah. Lots of bones.
But no, it was nothing that nothing really drove me to it, to be honest.
Huh.
I like the abilities. They work out really well for me. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think they're probably the best for me out of each one, but
yeah, Fleshcraft is pretty okay. It does have a lot of decent synergy in Torghast, especially when you get the ability that allows Maw Rats to count as elites. And if you kill a shit ton of Maw Rats right there, you can pop it up and get a shit ton of Fleshcraft. Plus, if you get the ability that gives you 8%
lets it
strength,
explode.
well, that lets it. Well, that one only allows it for 15, but there's one that gives you 8% strength for the length of it while it's up.
Yeah, because I was stacking that, and I was stacking the banner crit plus, so I can mulch through the end boss.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
What's the other ability you get?
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. There's one that I see on Twitch bragging about, is this huge flailing green hand thing.
That is Abomination Limb, and that is Death Knight.
Oh.
And I have that, and I fucking love it. That
Well,
yes,
I guess there's no other ability, is there?
No, warriors are going to have something different. So
I gotta log in.
Okay. You need to look. So we know for Night Fae, you get Soul Shape, which is basically like almost like Ghost Wolf with a blink built in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mine is Conqueror's Banner. Yeah, so it gives me 20% health, 10 crit.
So it just buffs you out the ass?
For me and two other people nearby. But whenever it's active, if I spend rage and kill people, I get glory, and that stacks up 1% per each glory up to 30%. So that's why I was stacking the...
Okay.
Because the Torghast one gives me bonus crit on top of that. I was stacking additional 40% on that every time I popped it.
Okay.
And then I got the bonuses from the other one
for
exploding and stuff.
Yeah, no. So the one that you were talking about that the Death Knights have, Abomination Limb, it comes out and it spins around and it'll grip anything within 8 yards in. And so it does AoE damage, and then it grips things in every so often. And in Torghast, you can get abilities that every rune you spend extends it by a second. And then you can also get another one, which is called Prosthetic or Abomination Prosthetic or something like that, which increases that grip range to 40 yards.
That's crazy.
So you can pop that. And then there's another one you can get to anything that it grips in. It casts Soul Reaper on, which is a unholy ability. So it grips them in, puts it on there, and you can just do that. And like you can kite things around with it, and it just keeps gripping them, so you can use it as like a constant interrupt if something is going to be casting, because every time you grip it, it interrupts it. So since we're talking about Torghast, have you done a bit of Torghast?
I have. I have level the upper reaches or whatever it's called.
Right.
I think I have layer 3 up to layer 3 complete. The lower one I only have layer 1 complete because that one's a pain in the ass.
So you can only do up to layer 3 right now. You can only complete up to layer 3 on Soul Forges and upper reaches right now.
Yeah, because I don't think you can get enough soul ash to finish the quest.
No,
you cannot. Yeah, 810 is the
yeah. So
I think I'm halfway there right now.
It's interesting to say the least. You know, because sometimes you can have runs where you just get nothing but shit powers, and sometimes you get runs where you get nothing but. Yeah, she had a couple runs where she had shit powers, I can attest to that because my ears are still bleeding.
Oh my god,
she was mad.
Potty mouth. So I get so mad.
Oh, it's bad. It's actually
very frustrating.
I don't think this is properly tuned for
the problem is everybody that I have gone in with has gotten super fun abilities that buff things in a meaningful way, and it feels like druids didn't. And right? So it's like, oh well, okay. I'm getting stuff for like, okay, both legendary things that I got are for feral druids.
That's
I don't play feral.
That's kind of shitty. That's
you know what I mean? They should at least, when you do those,
You've got
they
two
should
of
be.
them so far?
I've gotten 2, and they're both feral. And I'm like, I'm not playing feral. I'm a boomkin.
Well, I think I got one, but I've
only got one. I think you don't get it until the 3rd layer. So if you do Soulforge, you might get another one. I've done layer 3 on both of them. I only got one.
Brian, if you if you said you were having problems with that 3rd one.
No, he only did the first layer of Soulforges.
Okay, because
I completed all 3 layers of the other one because I got one of the legendary pieces, but I'm pretty sure it was for my spec.
Yeah. See,
I don't remember what the hell it was.
That's frustrating.
I think the part I was complaining about was that the 45-minute run up to the 6th floor, it doesn't show you that it's gradually getting harder as it is right now.
I don't know if
I mulched through up to level 6 just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I'm getting shitty picks, I can juggle those around to what I think I can work with.
I think the first 2 layers are like that. The 3rd layer is when I started to see issues. So, and the Soulforge
this would be the 3rd layer. This is the one that I kept going in, and that the last boss of that layer was absurdly much harder,
right? So
than even the trash pulls and stuff. Like
in the 3rd,
there's no way, there's no combination of anything that I could have done to do that boss.
Yeah,
because
the thing with
it happened before in the other one as well. I had one that I could not complete because of the stuff that he was shooting out.
Yeah,
it would burn down all 3 of the spells that I had for like blocking or interrupting rather.
Yeah.
I was using Fear, I was using a Pummel, and I was using Shield Reflect. And I was outside of that cooldown, and he would just obliterate me right then and there. And I finally just gave up, came back in, 45 minutes later, I downed that boss instantly.
Like a different boss. Was it a different boss or the same boss?
It was a different boss, yeah.
Yeah,
it was
see, that
boss.
was what happened to me. Because I did that with that, I don't remember the name of him, but I had it was hard. I went in as balance, and the first thing that I went in, I must have gotten some really, really shitty powers on that one, like so bad. But that first room I went in, holy effing crap. I mean, that run took me a really long time. I mean, I got like the RNG shitfest or something. I don't know. It was terrible. Like, I mean, those death speakers galore all over the place. And I killed them, but it took a lot of fancy footwork on my behalf. And then I got to the final boss, and as a balance druid, I have Solar Beam, which is on a 1-minute cooldown to interrupt, or I can Typhoon to interrupt when bosses allow me to Typhoon them, right? Because some bosses they won't move for you to Typhoon them. Or I could have spec'd into Mighty Bash, which I hadn't at that point because I didn't know I was going to, but that is also on a 1-minute cooldown interrupt. And he cast his spell every couple of seconds. And it was a ramping up buff thing. And there was no way I did.
That was
the
eyeball,
so much.
The eyeball boss earlier that I was talking about was the same exact way. He only had 3 spells. He did a big hit over and over and over and over, and I could knock him out of his rotation, and then he would do an AoE that was an instant kill. You just kind of jump out of little circles. That was fine. And then out of nowhere, he does this eyeball laser, right? And if you're in front of him, he automatically snaps to you. If you're behind him, he has to find you. But if you're in front of him, he snaps to you, and he does not let go, and he's hitting you back at the same time. So, like, if you're not close enough to hit a Fear or a Pummel or something, assuming that you have it off cooldown, it's 3 hits and you're dead.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with the 3rd layer is certain elites and the end bosses have a stacking empowerment buff that once it hits 10 stacks, they're no longer CCable or interruptible.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to burn them down before that happens, or get them really close so that you can then kite them around and just slowly whittle them down while soaking the damage. That's the problem with the third layer.
Mm. Well, and that's going to be the problem
Mine
with
only
all
got to
subsequent
6,
layers. Is it's going to be item level contingent, basically, is what is going to happen. So
Or-
you're going to be, because it's not,
Well,
they're not locking you in at an item level. You're going to go in there, and people who are mythic geared are going to blow these things out of the water, and you know what I mean? But people who aren't mythic geared...
It's kind of a two-handed thing, though. Like, it's a good and a bad, because one, great, they can blow it out of the water. There's not enough... You don't get enough from it there that they're going to have an unfair advantage.
Right.
On the other hand, you literally get enough gold to pay for the repairs of using your lives in there.
well, that's why...
I got a companion. I got one companion, right? Out of I don't know, I've ran it over 10 times now, and I got a companion randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got
You
a
know what I mean?
companion
Like,
on
today.
the third floor of the third layer or something like that. Second floor or something like that, yeah.
So, but the thing is, it's fun. It's super fun, but you
Until
don't get
it's-
anything else
until
from
it's
it except
frustrating.
Soul Ash.
Well,
Well, the Soul Ash and the legendaries. And I'm curious how that works as far as the legendaries. Do you only get them on the third? I have to look into that, because I'm going to be running it a lot, because I have 4 specs, and God forbid I get every other specs legendary before I get the ones that are useful for me. I thought Blizzard learned their lesson with random legendaries when in Legion, when they finally put in the things where you could choose what legendaries you wanted. You know what I mean? But now, at least with Legion, you at least got the legendaries for your spec. Now you're not even getting that. You're just getting...
You still have to build. You still have to build the base piece.
Sure, but you need that piece first to be able to build that. You can't...
So you don't... So you can't sell it after you use the legendary piece?
No, it's... So
it's a recipe for the rune.
Yeah,
Rune Master,
it's a recipe for the Rune Master, and you go to him to build it. So you have to get these on the beta. They had it all there for you, but you have to buy specific parts to go. They had it so you could buy them.
I just got the blacksmithing base pieces, the Shadowgast plate stuff,
right?
But I don't know.
Right. No, the memories are just the things that you can put on them to give them those bonus abilities, I believe.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you make it, does it become BOP?
I think so. Yeah. I don't think you could sell legendaries.
Because if it doesn't, then you at least have the ability to.
That would be fine. I would be okay if you could sell legendaries, because then it would suck and suck up all of my money. But whatever. Well,
I mean, I'd be willing, but at that point, we'd have enough people in the guild to be able to balance it out. But at the same time,
we'll check and see if we can get more legendaries by doing a few layers. And we found that by doing it together, it got a little bit easier.
Well,
now we also got one of the rares dropped a power that was a wand.
Oh my God.
A frostbite wand.
Yeah, take that power.
The second you hit something, it loses 50% of the health for 4 seconds, and then it regains it over 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you wait, if I would let her shoot some legend or some elites down a little bit,
and then hit it,
we could hit it,
and then
we
burst
got 4
it.
seconds to burst it down,
boom.
like the remaining 10%, and just boom.
Yeah.
End bosses just like that. Well,
I
didn't wait long enough on the end boss in that layer, but we still did it. But I'm sitting there waiting. He's down to 60. Like 58, it's like, all right, we'll be all right. And then then you whack it,
and then
it just
burst.
chunks 50% down, and you just blow your load on it, and it just it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, we were
Once
just
we
blowing
that out,
through stuff. And I will say we thought it was going to be easier with me going heals and Jim going DPS, because how they have that thing where if your heals, it halves the hit points or makes it,
does
blah, blah,
it
blah.
in Torius?
Yeah, it's supposed to. And that was fine.
That's
but
solo though, isn't it?
No, I think it's with other people as well. But regardless, it was terrible.
Well, the problem
we
was
did
is-
way better as double DPS.
Well, the problem too was also I didn't realize that half the mobs in there are undead, and I can control undead.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
so like some of those
Mhm.
sentinels, just pick them up,
Yep.
use them, and keep them controlled until you leave. And when you
Yep.
go up to the next level, they stay behind.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it was awesome. I'm a shitty DK. Didn't fucking remember that was a thing.
It was so funny. Jim's like, wait a minute. Those are undead.
I'm gonna try this.
Yeah. And it changed everything.
Because at that level, they had that ability where
Yeah.
they were. Oh, it sucked too because they have that ability that boosts them.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there constantly casting it on because it's got the pet ability where it's got the glowy circle around it where
Yeah.
it's supposed to auto cast it and never auto cast it.
Oh.
So I started casting it on it to keep it up
Yeah.
and to build them up to who would do more damage. And then something happened and I couldn't regain control of him. And we had
Oh
to
my
fight him. And he was
God.
at like 14 stacks, so he couldn't be CC'd.
Jim's like, I was building him up. I'm like, what the heck?
I figured, yeah, that didn't
that
work
one,
out.
That one
very
took
well.
us a while to
That's
take
funny.
him down.
But
It didn't happen again after that, so I don't know what it was.
I stopped grabbing them
Yeah.
to the point where we didn't know where the end was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I like it.
Mm.
I'm disappointed in it. I thought it was going to be way more free and open to do. Kind
Yeah.
of go in, have some fun. But it's literally the fun is just literally
Well,
just
6 levels, and that is my problem with it because you legitimately go in and you do 6 floors and then that's it, and then you have to end your run and go do another so it's like they're forcing you to if you would have gotten a really great hand
see. That's
or
what I
whatever,
thought. I thought it was like unlimited.
yeah,
floors.
you were just going to keep going and going and going and see how far you could get, and eventually you'd have all the powers if you got
Well,
high enough.
because they didn't want people having legendaries in the beginning, it's capped to the first 3 layers this week. Now, whether that cap goes away, I
But-
don't know. If you look on the map, the only 2 wings we have access to are Upper Reaches and Soul Forges. There's like 3 other wings.
Right, but those first 3 layers are only 6 floors, is what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
mean, unless those
I mean-
next ones are more than 6 floors.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I
Yeah.
don't know enough about what the beta was like. I glanced at
I mean,
few streams doing it, but I thought I
we-
saw people like in the 40s and 50s and stuff.
Yeah, we did ones where we went more floors.
It could be those other wings.
yeah.
It could be just
The
so that-
heroic versions. I think it might be because okay, so once you go through and unlock all of the things, and you've done them all, like there's 8 of them, then you unlock the next level of those, which I think gives you more floors, is what it is. I think that's what it is.
So there's potential. It's an interesting system. They've obviously got it gated right now and capped for the first week because they don't want people to exploit it and just go in and just spend all their time in there because they don't want people having legendaries yet.
Well, you can get a legendary.
But
Next
I
week.
would
Next
say
week.
take the damn legendaries out of it then. Stick
Yeah.
some toys, stick some
Yeah.
random normal pieces in there or something. Take all the shit that you were putting in old World Quest stuff in BFA, all that extra shit,
Yeah.
and throw it into Torghast with some crazy ass RNG.
Yeah.
Like if I randomly got a toy, I'd be like, oh, that's
That-
cool.
that-
Right.
Yeah, like islands, right? Like maybe they should. Maybe that stuff.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
that's a good
you're
point,
right.
yeah.
But I mean, but they also don't want to not have you have had any progress for the legendary stuff because they didn't want you to have it the first week, but
Right.
you're gonna be able to get one next week, maybe.
Yeah.
Potentially if you have the right things.
I'm not gonna lie, it's spending 45 minutes in there and then not being able to finish the boss. That's
Yeah.
gonna be
Oh, no.
that's
That
gonna be a
hurts.
problem.
The
Yeah.
first time I got to the layer 3 boss with Soul Forges
Yeah.
at the 6th floor, I died all the times and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. I used all my lives, and then it's like, well, the dude's coming for you. I'm like, well,
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I'm like,
get to the thing before he does, and I was like,
I'm like,
well, he's not coming for me. I don't care.
I know. I was
so-
looking around for him. I'm like, what is this thing at? And he
Oh.
just comes
And he just-
marching through, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, okay.
Well,
And I'm like,
I
he's
didn't.
at the very end. I'm like, well, I'm not going anywhere. It's like you can port out of it, and I'm like, I'm not clicking on that.
Yeah.
And I start walking, trying to go towards them, and it's like ports me out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I just left, so I didn't even. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to down this guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to figure something else out. Maybe I just got a bad set of powers.
Yep.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing
Maybe I
it
just got a
first.
bad boss, but it does feel bad that you know.
Sure. But again, that's the randomness of it, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, if you have 45 minutes to play, is it worth doing that when you could probably, I don't know, stretch it out or wait till you get better gear?
or find
And
a
then-
group.
Or find a
you know,
group.
It's,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
anyway, I think we're going to have to wrap it up now, guys. We're,
Oh my god.
this is probably one of the recently ones where we've had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But we don't want to go too far. We want to kind of keep this within listening levels. So just to kind of recap, we went ahead and we talked about Shadowlands, the expansion dropped. We talked about the launch event or experience. We talked about, the intro to the Maw quest. We talked about the storyline from all the covenants, what we liked, what we didn't like. We talked about some of the end game stuff, about Torghast and all that stuff. So we want to thank you guys for sticking with it and listening to this
Thank you.
longer than usual episode. You can go ahead and catch us at our Facebook page. It's going to be facebook.com/server restartin. You could send us a tweet at server_restart. Nobody has, but you could. Maybe you could be the first. And again, thanks everyone for listening. We'll have another episode out next week, and happy leveling. Bye.
Bye.